Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gargoyles episode reviews. Today we are wrapping up Shadows of the Past. In the cave below Castle Wyvern's ancient site lies ancient, powerful magic. The ghosts of Hakon and the captain of the guard are hell-bent on using that magic to resurrect themselves. All they need is life force to steal, and they'll be back to their old selves. Who better to leech life from than Goliath? Men have hated him for 1,000 years because they blame him for their deaths. Will Goliath be able to resist their illusion? He'll have to act fast. If he doesn't, he'll be a ghost instead. If you missed the first half, you can go read or listen to it. And remember, he did not push them off. They kind of fought with each other and fell off themselves in a classic Disney death. Not the fall, but landing. And Goliath falls. Bronx bites down on his wrist and tries to pull him up, though. Ouch. Elisa and Angela try and grab him, but once again he sees Hakon and the captain. He chooses falling over dealing with them. And Elisa piles in to help here, as if it would make a difference. I mean, how much does Goliath weigh? He's got to weigh hundreds of pounds. He's built. He's solid. And he's like 7 feet tall. So what, 400 pounds? 500 pounds? I don't know. Angela, Bronx, and Elisa have no choice but to climb down. Elisa does an amazing job of climbing down. Down is way harder than going up, generally. If you don't believe me, try it yourself on some sort of rock. Yeah, it's dark, it's wet, slick, and again, it's rock. And she can't, dig her claws in like the gargoyles do. Speaking of dark, again, where is the light coming from? Because it's not like completely dark like, a cave normally is. We've all been in caves when the ranger shuts off the lights, right? And it's so dark that you can feel it. And this may come as a shock, but Goliath survives the fall. He's in a large chamber now, full of stalagmites. Those are the ones that come up from the bottom, remember? Because the stalactites hang tight. In the center of them is a platform with Stonehenge-like structures. You got 4 pillars with a big, huge, flat piece of rock on top. Non-Euclidean geometry. I still say the Lovecraft universe would go well with the gargoyle verse. Runes are all over them, but they're not the Norse Viking runes. And they're not the Theban language either, which is one commonly used in magic. It might be super ancient, or actually they almost look extraterrestrial, something you'd see Daniel try to decode in Stargate SG-1, while Jack cracked wise and Sam typed on a laptop. Overhead are 2 green blobs of ectoplasm. They have Hakon and Captain's voices. They comment that the magic is strongest here. This means they have the power to animate the stalagmites, or at least it looks like they do. The stones turn into the slaughtered Wyvern clan. This is creepy. Imagine if your whole family was murdered, and then stones came together in their exact likenesses. And here's some gargoyles, I guess, that were murdered. And the one on the right, he looks like he could be Brooklyn's brother. They accuse Goliath of destroying and betraying them. The ghosts are able to inhabit 2 of the stone gargs and toss Goliath around. Hey, don't they know that ghosts aren't supposed to be able to hurt you? Captain wants to get on with whatever they're planning, but Hakon is having fun getting his revenge. Then Stone Demona steps out. She says she'll grant him the same gift he gave her, oblivion. Oh, there's a mistake, ghosts. Goliath catches it. Okay, so again, is this them somehow reading part of his mind? Like the top level of fear? I wonder, does part of him wish she had died in the massacre so he could remember her with fondness as his angel of the night instead of the villain who's dead set on revenge upon the human race? And there's Stone Demona. Dang, Demona is cut. Fooled G twice. When Goliath realizes this is a trick, and the spirits of the gargoyles aren't coming against him, the Stalagmite clan crumbles. Does this mean that his belief gave them more power? Sort of like the movie Skeleton Key, where, spoiler, the magic only worked if you believed it. Come to think of it, the movie had a similar plot to this episode. At the very least, now that Goliath knows he's being messed with, the ghosts can't gaslight him anymore. He won't believe their illusions. But it's too late. He's at the heart of the magic. I'm not sure why there's a massive collection of magic here. There's also no explanation regarding who built the standing stones. The Archmage, maybe? No, I don't think so. I think it was somebody earlier in history. None of that info is integral to the plot at this point, though, so it'd be nice to explore it, but can't right now. Captain and Hakon aren't sure why they're ghosts. Maybe it's the magic, or maybe it's their hatred for each other and for Goliath. And there's Captain talking to him. How weird would this be? You're talking to the guy who betrayed your family 1,000 years ago. The ghosts activate the runes. Somehow they know how to do this. Alright, whatever. And those runes are big, man. Big. The aim is to suck Goliath's life force and use it to bring them back to life. It's almost like the machine in The Princess Bride, except it confers that life energy onto other beings instead of just taking it. Yeah, and the whole thing's glowing purple, so I would say that the magic is active. Let's slow down here because this is huge. Demona conned Xanatos into letting her use his broadcast equipment by saying she could steal a minute of life from everyone who saw the spell. We thought that was just her jerking him around so she could use it to turn the city to stone. I mean, and yeah, it was. But apparently it's also a viable magical option. What are the repercussions of this? Does this mean you can essentially have immortality by dragging some poor soul here and sucking their life force out? Perhaps it only works if you're dead, but are somehow able to cling to this plane. What effect would it have on someone who was old but still alive and who sucked the life force from another person? If it restored their life force and rejuvenated them, at what age would the reversal of aging stop? This better not be some Benjamin Button weirdness. I assume it would be like the Lazarus pits in Batman, that Ra's al Ghul used. But even those are a little sketchy in their workings. And also, they've been waiting all this time to get somebody down here. Well, there was a ton of workmen up there when they were getting the castle for Xanatos. You couldn't have lured some of those down? Or does it have to be like a special person that you get the life force from? If so, how did they know? And wow, they really lucked out in getting Goliath, the very person that they hated, to come back, especially after 1,000 years. Sheesh. As the magic does its work, Goliath becomes transparent. At the same time, the ghosts become opaque. Is it regenerating their bodies then? Why is it restoring their physical matter, which is different from their souls? I mean, their regular bodies have been eaten by the fishes or whatever was down there 1,000 years ago. Right, and now there's a picture with Hakon, and you can barely see Goliath on the right. He's a shade. I'm not sure if the writers realized it, but whenever they bring something about death and the afterlife into the series, they're actually establishing the rules of the Gargoyles universe. Now, we know it's possible to be a ghost. We know that in the right situation, it's possible to transfer life force. We still don't know anything else about the afterlife, though. There's even more energy crackling around the pillars. Is it supposed to do that? My interest in this is mainly due to Xanatos' obsession with gaining immortality. If this life force snatching is a thing, he could possibly do it in order to stay young. It's sort of like being a vampire, I guess. Rather, it's like the Asian vamps that take your life force, your chi, instead of your soul. Instead of your blood. Side note, David would make a great vampire, considering how suave, charming, and handsome he is. Actually, Owen would maybe make an even better one, since he's more aloof and mysterious and he's, really pale. Moving on. What would the ghosts do if they were restored to fully functional living status? Everyone they know is gone. It would be like the Gargoyles when they woke up 1,000 years later, but worse. The Gargs got a helping hand in this cultural and time adjustment from Xanatos and Elisa. Also, the Gargoyles aren't human. Hakon and Captain are humans who don't have a penny to their name, have no ID, and have no idea what the world is like. They don't have shelter, transportation, or even modern clothes either. I really don't think they thought much past getting revenge on Goliath. It's kind of an odd desire, too. And you got 1,000 years. You might be planning out your life ahead if you ever did get brought back. I'm assuming they knew about the curse on the clan that turned them to stone, since the castle was right above the cave. And now something else. Did they turn to ghosts boom right away? Or did it kind of take a minute? I'm assuming it was right away. All the construction probably rattled the ghosts too. For all they knew, though, and this is the key, the Gargoyles are still stone. They were stone when the workmen were loading them up. There is a small chance that the ghosts knew about the spell's condition, castle rising above the clouds, because they heard Magus talking about it, and maybe they heard the workmen talking about the destination of the castle. But I mean, all that is pure speculation and going really far into the tule bushes with it too. There's no way the ghosts could know if the castle move broke the spell, though. Anyhow, Hakon's hate has kept him around all this time. I'm not sure what kind of afterlife he'd have or will have, so I don't know if chilling on Earth for 1,000 years is good or bad for him. If he was supposed to go to Valhalla, well, this would be bad then. It's a serious delay. If he's going to hell, though, well, this is a reprieve for him. On face value, at least, it was not a fun time. Captain's hate for himself and Hakon have kept him around. Same story as above regarding afterlife, but I can't imagine spending 1,000 years with a guy who betrayed you and who is generally unpleasant. That would be horrible. I think of how much anger this man has, Hakon here. It's been growing for 1,000 years because he's had that long to rationalize the blame. Goliath plays on Captain's sense of honor, just like he played on Macbeth's. It's really hard to be a villain when you have honor. You can be a good antagonist, but don't get me wrong, but you'll never be a true, absolute uber villain. The "what good is life without honor" unquote line hits home. He'd make a good Solamnic knight, in Dragonlance. Ust Solaris Ophmythus is their motto, meaning my honor is my life. Or the Waffen SS motto, and I am going to murder this pronunciation because there is a letter that I don't know what it is, and there are way too many vowels in that last word. Mein Ehr heißt True, meaning my honor is loyalty. Heart and Soul. Remember that movie? Robert Downey Jr. was in it. Great movie. The captain has a change of heart and struggles with Hakon. This interferes with the spell. Conveniently, this reverses it, allowing Goliath to regain his life force. Hakon tries to remind Captain that they hated Goliath for 1,000 years. Joke's on Hakon because Captain hated himself. Their struggle causes the standing stones to explode, collapsing on the men. This is like Star Wars wrap-up here. You've got a glowing captain of the guard. Captain has atoned for his deed by saving Goliath. I'm not sure how that works since your betrayal kind of cost a lot of lives, both human and gargoyles, and all you did was save one gargoyle here. Anyway, thus Captain is free to toddle off into the afterlife. Go to the light. It's like Dead Like Me, where the souls get to go to the afterlife. And there's everybody watching the captain kind of turn into a ball of light. Hakon is not so lucky. He's still holding on, trapped in the caves. And he's like, it's stuck in a rock, looking out as if it's a window. Don't leave me here with nobody to hate, he roars. But he has people to hate. There's Goliath and the captain and the world in general. I've never been in a position where I had no one to hate. Just because you don't have somebody right next to you doesn't mean you can't hate them. After all, they hated Goliath for 1,000 years without him being around. Welcome to the Upside Down, Hakon. That picture. Oh, yes, and the protagonists sail off on their merry way in the skiff that survived the tide and the storm. Final thoughts. I am still stuck on the idea of ghosts. It opens a Pandora's box of possibilities and questions. The placement of this ep is great, though. We just saw characters from Goliath's past, good and evil. Now we're seeing two more. We're on a roll. Lots of forgiveness for them from Goliath, too, which is nice. It sort of gives you some closure there. Not that I really thought we needed anyone or cared, but since they brought it up, it's good. What's interesting about this idea is how they explore the theme of creating your own chains. It's like in The Cage, where the characters had made their own cages that kept them from enjoying their lives. Hate led to all-consuming obsession with revenge here. It trapped these fellows for 1,000 years. It's fitting that they used Demona in their illusion. They used her because she was Goliath's girlfriend, I know. But they unwittingly provided the perfect symbol for their hate. While they've been dead and hating it, and Goliath and each other, she's been alive, doing the same thing. She might as well be dead and trapped in a cave for all the good it's done her. She'd be just as miserable. And she wouldn't be hurting a bunch of people. They say there are no haunted houses, only haunted people. I think there are both. Alright, tune in next time for Heritage. I hate this episode. It's absolutely one of the worst episodes, but we got to cover it. So it's going to be a one episode deal. Since it's been a whole episode since we saw Faye, it's going to have one of Oberon's children, but definitely not one of the most compelling. And join me as I wrestle with whether or not to be pseudo offended by the characters and the episode themes. I really won't be that offended, but I will be a little bit offended. Largely because it's just an awful episode, and the plot's just stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. It is. So, one shot, one post, that's it. Done. And then we can move on to something else. So, what did you think about the current episode, Shadows of the Past? Did you like how it ended? Did you think that maybe Hakon should have been let loose to go to his own afterlife? And what do you think the afterlife is for everybody in the Garg universe? Like, what is it for gargoyles? What is it for humans? So, remember, you can comment here. You can comment on the blog. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.